Good evening. I've had some fresh new thoughts cross my mind tonight that I'm happy to come to you with. I hope I'm able to get them out there as at least half as clearly as they came across my mind. So, then they're pertinent to current events, which were current events I thought I wasn't really going to be able to talk about because I thought I had sort of too strong feelings on them. I'm not, and generally over the course of my life, I haven't been a excessively political person. Like my worldviews weren't necessarily related to current events. They were just sort of as is. Like consider myself a liberal person, especially as far as perhaps only as far as civil liberties go. I believe people should make their own decisions as long as they don't interfere with other people's life and hurt other people. So that put me on the liberal side of things. But then with libertarians, what I fall under. But like I say, I'm not political, and I believe in maintaining the Constitution of the United States is important. But as far as worrying about every candidate that runs, having to listen to all those politicians, not my ball game. But to get to these good thoughts, it might go take me a minute to get to the good ones here. Because I got to also talk about why I didn't think I could talk about it. It's because, I haven't been, for maybe a while, haven't been living the life I've been wanting to live. And I can't put it all on politics and current events and stuff like that, but obviously since, the COVID lockdown, as someone who traveled around and on tour for good part of my adult life and seeing a lot of places, and that's where my real friendships were built, was out on the road with other people who did that. So being separated from that is made me all in all not feeling like a successful person, certainly not a excessively happy person. And when you become upset with your own life, you sometimes look for culprits. It's kind of the natural thing to do, even when you know it's not the correct thing to do. So I was sort of in that thing, especially with the substitute for that being the tour life, all being online. And, feeling like, okay, well, here's an upside to this. This could be a part where I can sort of get my artistic life go up and going on the internet and stuff. And, my YouTube channel probably has more subscribers than most people's, but considering the effort I put into it and the quality I feel some of the videos have, I just don't feel like it's getting real good treatment. I feel like it's getting the promotion it deserves. And, I don't feel like even my subscribers are getting the ones that they should get. I think they should see all of them, but, I don't do the algorithm for YouTube and all that. So that was just, but that doesn't, just having being upset with a platform, on some issues, that's not where it all fell in under. And then, the person does get, I did, looked into a lot of things and conspiracies, and I'm not having disavowed all of them. But as far as like when it comes down to this current, what we talk about current events, it's basically getting to this touchy, terrible issue of anti-Semitism. And it's terrible because anytime somebody is like labeled as being born into something that's doing something wrong, and that puts everybody in that racial group or religious group or ethical group, nation, any of that, anytime it puts all these people into a category as a culprits, it's a bad thing. It just is. So having any thoughts along those lines, or listen to like, well, that part's true, and this, give me a shower, wash that shit off of me because I don't like it. I don't want to be associated with it. And not only, first of all, I know nothing good can come out of your life if the more you tie yourself into that. Nothing good's going to come from it. But I also feel, because I believe in the Constitution, where you should be able to speak freely and state things that are factual. So, but I had reviewing some of these thoughts and got a fresh look on it tonight. Was, being like, well, if all these CEOs are Jewish, then stating it and saying they're in control of things, is it bad? But then I thought about, wait a minute. It's not stating the fact that that many people who are successful CEOs who are Jewish over, and the percentage out of the percentage of the population, how it doesn't correlate. It's the part where they run your life. Do they run? I mean, and that's where I see that's where they could get offended. And this is sort of the funny thoughts, like all the, if I was a Jewish person, I wouldn't want to be accused of running my life. If I'm running a successful company that's succeeding, and somebody who's wanting to blame their failures on you, the person be like, look, I've run a successful business, so I can't be accused of running your life. You're the one that runs your life, and it's ended up that way because you've done it. So, that's sort of a fresh look at my own self and the funniness of it. But what also got me to that, because I do try and think positive thoughts about people, and, even whether it's ever good to think on the big group thing like a race, but like even on, like each race, each big group of people, I can say something good about overall. And I haven't known closely a whole lot of Jewish people, but I did have a Jewish boss one time, and he was rich, and he actually, frankly, treated me very fairly, gave me the recommendation I needed to move on to the next job after I worked with him from where I was at, and couldn't have asked for more from a boss. Could have got a lot less and would have still thought he had dealt fairly with me. So he kind of even took a little extra measure with me, to give me the recommendations. Because like when I talked to the employers when I was going up to Alaska to get a job on a fishing boat, I had to get hired. They pretty much filled all the spots they had, and I just kind of like basically walked into the office because I hadn't been called. It's like telling the lady, here's my phone number, you can call my boss right now. And and she's like, well, I convinced her enough that I wanted the job that she's like, well, I'm not going to call him now, but I will call him. So then I talked to that guy that day, and his name was Gary, I forget his last name, and I said, did they call you? And he's like, yeah, they did. And I said, you think I'm going to get that job? And he said, I know you're going to get that job after the reference I gave you. And sure enough, I got the job. So, that's one encounter I had with a Jewish person. I don't feel like that wash off any thoughts of me coming here to like kiss ass either because I want something, because I'm not the type to ever do that. And that's part of the reason why I'm maybe not successful in a conventional way, but I'm successful in maintaining a certain amount of liberty for myself, where I don't bow down to other people. I haven't got where I am by bowing down, and for better or worse, I haven't gotten that far, but at least I don't owe anybody that. I haven't rode on anybody's coattails or anything like that. I try and pull my own, so I can maintain that dignity and of own self. I can look at myself in the mirror and not feel like I've cowered to anything. But that being said, let's talk about this white supremacist thing, okay? First of all, who is a white supremacist? I don't know anybody. I'm sure. I'm not calling people liars. It's just like, yeah, you see them on TV. But I live in West Virginia. This is supposedly a state with white supremacists around all over. I don't know anybody who. First of all, if somebody told me that they were white and they thought they were supreme because they were white, I'd be like, have you never done academics with an Asian kid? Have you never played sports with a black kid? Where do you get this supremacy thing? It's like, okay, maybe I'd put white trash up against any other race's trash in a battle of the trashiest. Maybe we reign supreme at that. But so for any race to think that they're supreme is kind of laughable. And then but the thought of us being like, okay, you're this white supremacist, and then you're like, well, don't the Jewish people call themselves the chosen people and this and that? And but that's not what we accuse them of. We don't accuse them of being supremacists. But we accuse them of running the world. And they're like, look, don't blame that fucking shit on us. There's too much messed up stuff going on in the world. Nobody wants to be blamed for that. Maybe we haven't had that conversation. Maybe we're like, hey, you guys are supremacists, aren't you? They're like, oh, well, yeah, because we actually are. That's a joke because I don't know what the answer they'd say. But that was a funny thought to cross my mind, the supremacist thing. Yeah. And, I've never seen a Klansman in the hood or anything like that. As far as I know, I've never met a Klansman. I'm almost 50 years old, turned 50 in 2 months. So, so that part of it. Okay, this is sort of a confessional thing here. I did one time think that, racism was widespread enough because in here, you hear all these What, it wasn't Jewish people growing up. That wasn't that I heard. It was black people that people would talk about. Oh, I hate them nickels. Them nickels. I can't stand nickels. But that something about that talk didn't ring true with this anti-Semitism thing. Now, the same people that saying the nickel haters are supposedly the anti-Semitics. No, I don't believe so. That word's been planted by somebody. That did not come out of the same minds that came up with the nickel hating. It just didn't. So there's something fishy there. Don't know who did it. We could be under conspiracy there because it could be a funny one. That could be the ultimate answer. Is it could be a funny issue. I'm not trying to blame the Jewish people for the word anti-Semitism as planting it, but it could be just a funny way to win the argument if it ever comes face to face. Be like, oh, so you're anti-Semitic? Yeah, I am. And what? Can you tell me again what Semitic means? Where this word's derived from? Because I think that would probably put an end to that conversation. Because look, the word anti-Semitism, there's too much thought has went into that word for that to be white supremacist thinking. Okay, so let's just laugh that one off, the anti-Semitic, because that did not come out of those minds. There's not anti-Semitic nickel haters. It's just they're not the same people. They can't be. So that being said, okay, that confessional thing. When I was 18, I went to college for a year and hadn't been around a whole lot of black people. I always, loved watching black comedy on TV and sports and stuff like that. But then, got to college and all of a sudden, it's like, well, competing with for girls with these guys, and they were, smooth talkers, fast talkers, and go to dance clubs, and they're the ones getting all the chicks. And yes, it was out of jealousy, which I think almost all racism stems from jealousy, not from supremacist thought. I mean, the supremacist thing, people could develop a supremacist attitude to try to cover up the insecurity, but it's a very thin veil over that whole, because no, most racism comes from feelings of insecurity or inadequacy. So, but I thought, well, I could, vent a little bit of that to my Uncle Ralph, 2 generations older than me, and an old man. I thought, because that's what I always heard, old people, old white men were all racist. So I thought, and I normally, grew up thinking the opposite. All these, I knew racism was bad, but then when I started actually feeling it a little bit, then I thought, well, yeah, now I'll buddy up to, at least I have the old white men. Maybe they'll tell me something that'll make me feel better. So I was telling my Uncle Ralph, I was like, hey, these guys, you've got one of them, you meet them one at a time, it's good, but when you get a group of them together, it's like, yeah, you get a group of them together, and they got all the girls over their table, that's what happens. But that, that's not what I said. I was just like, get them together, and then they're not the same, they're trouble. And he's like, look, those young men want the same thing out of life that you want. That's that simple. And that's all it took, shut me up, put me in my place, but at the same time, it made me feel good. It's like, I was glad that my Uncle Ralph wasn't a racist, and I was glad that he gave me good advice and not more garbage to, feed my own insecurities with, whatever you want to call it. I was glad that I wasn't brought up racist, and I didn't have that raining down on me from within my family at all. So, a little bit of it out. Well, but see, like I say, race wasn't a huge issue. It was an issue on TV across America. We all shared the same knowledge of that. But as far as dealing with it face to face, very little of it, fortunately, on either side. So, but here's the one thing I thought of tonight. Okay, another thing. This is the biggest conspiracy of all, because a lot of this comes to conspiracy things and trying to piece world issues together. And I feel I've kind of done some of it, but look. You can't. Here's the thing. Well, even if you do know the answer to all of the things, people are so stupid. I'm sorry, but people, you can't. That's the real thing. It's like, it's not okay. Yes, maybe platforms don't support me voicing my opinions on these things, especially conspiracies that I feel are real conspiracies. Some even ones I know are real conspiracies don't feel I can voice my opinion. That's frustrating. But at the same time, even if I did, people believe what they want to believe anyhow. So many people want to be misled. People will take part in the misleading. So take it back to basics, back to the beginning of what we all the first big conspiracy that we all encounter growing up, most of us, all us people of Christian upbringing, in the English-speaking world, is Santa Claus, and it is a huge conspiracy. And why? Why are we doing this? It's like people are like, oh, it makes the holidays more fun. It's like, really? I mean, like, the kids are going to get the same toy either way. They're either going to get it from a parent or loved one, or they're getting it from this Santa Claus guy who they barely know. They meet him like once a year to go sit on his lap for 15 seconds and tell him what they want, and then he brings it down their chimney. And it's like, look, who designed this? Because it's like, it doesn't seem like it benefits fathers, especially fathers at all. It's like, especially if you got a hard-working dad who's out working, making money, and like, the kid doesn't get to spend enough time with him anyhow, and then when he gets to scrape his money together to buy him his best thing he can get him for Christmas, he's going to attribute that to a fictional guy. Who thought of that? Now, where a father didn't say that. Oh, I'm going to get my son a bike for Christmas. I'm going to say this white-haired dude from North Pole got it for him instead. And no, who did that? And I would think it's even got to be worse if you're black or Hispanic. And it's like, oh, this old white guy got that for you. You know, it's like, no wonder so many fathers just gave up, because they can't win for winning. They don't get the credit for the victories they do succeed at. So this Santa Claus thing, it's like, but it's like, well, you can't blame it on a Jewish person, would you? Because it's like all a Christian holiday thing. It's like got Saint Nick and all that stuff. It's even sort of adding a little bit to. But then again, you know, you got to think, well, from a sneaky thing, it's like adding a big fishy lie to Christianity. You know, I'm not saying it is them. I'm just saying it might not be a foolish thing for them to do if they're wanting to take down the religion. But it could be bigger than that. It could be a satanic thing, because it's basically, what's better way to produce atheists by introducing them to a religious holiday, a fictional character that by the time they get into high school, they're either going to be put in special ed classes or they're going to know it was all a lie. One of the two. And when you find out the biggest, happiest thing, the one that gets you the presents and stuff, was a lie, was part of the religion, doesn't that pretty much topple the whole thing? I mean, it really makes you think. It's like, and so why would people perpetuate this and feel the need to perpetuate it so much? So that's kind of, but that just goes to show, once again, just how dumb people are and how willing they are to believe lies and take part in lies. It's like, so maybe here's the answer, not just here to laugh at problems. Maybe get something all solved here too. Maybe we could do this. It's like, because I figured out Santa Claus was not real. I was so happy when my second grade teacher told all the other kids that Santa Claus wasn't real, because I was tired of being the one who knew it wasn't and had to listen to other kids talk about it being so dumb and sure that this thing was true. But as someone who figured it out at a young age, it's a sad life from then on. It's like they say they want to reduce the population in the world, and some people say there's conspiracy they do extra abortions for that purpose. But that's a 50-50. That life could be a very happy life. But if you know Santa Claus isn't real, by the time you're in second grade, it's not going to be that happy of a life, probably, because it's going to take special care. So if we're going to have these secret Illuminati groups, and we're going to have all these extra agents monitoring people and trying to solve the world issues and stuff, maybe find those kids that figured it out in second grade and pull them aside and either euthanize them or put them in a secret world where they can be around other people.
I don't think he's ever been appreciated as a humorist. Some of this is very funny indeed.